Hello, everybody. Welcome and thank you for tuning in to Just Bleed Radio. Today is Sunday, the 11th of August, 2024, and this is the Weekend Roundup. Hello, everybody. We're so glad you could join us for the newest episode of Two Fat Guys at the Apex, where we watch two UFC heavyweights hurl themselves at each other like angry bull elephant seals, fighting for territory and mating rights. As Marcin Tybura and Sergey Spivak clashed over the very limited amount of territory available in the Apex cage for something I'm not sure what, just for beating another guy whose name a lot of fans should know, I guess. Anyways, I'm DM and I'm your host for this week's show, and as always, I'm joined by my two pals from across the pond, Lazybed and Austin, to discuss a night that I would say was dominated by leg kicks above just about any other technique. But but now I understand that God's gift to mankind, no, not me, marijuana. Marijuana has been made legal in Lazy's state. So it's now more, oh, hi, oh, than Ohio. So it's possible that Lazy may have indulged for the first time, legally. Nonetheless, he never asked us to rate the card last week. So bad boy, Lazy, bad boy. And he can't even use the excuse that he was high, because the statute of limitations is nowhere near passed for that crime yet. So come on down and say hi, Lazy.
Oh man, yeah, you got me there. I forgot that I didn't do that last week, but I will not say why because that would be not good in a legally binding way. But yeah, just like the fighters at the Apex, I missed weight this morning. I am completely out of shape, and I really don't want to be here. This should be great. I'll fit right in.
Can't wait. Fresh from cleaning the rats from his work truck, although that was yesterday, and necking beers on film and winking at us by request of Lazy. Of course, it's Austin. So, how are things in sunny California, mate? How are we doing?
Oh, it was great. We went to the beach yesterday. Weather was great. The water was cold at first, but once you spend a couple minutes in, you're pretty much swimming and, getting beat to shit by these random ass waves. Came home, chilled out, had some food, and just enjoyed what I could on the fights. And I wasn't thoroughly disappointed, but it's like one of those things where you're like, all right, second job, let's go. Let's just get this over and done. Yeah. There's a couple little news bits out there. Kind of kept the weekend interesting. Lazy would know.
All right, let's get on with the actual show then. And we're going to start off by talking about the main event. Sergey Spivak defeats Marcin Tybura by submission armbar at 1 minute 44 of round one. And I just joked about this being two fat guys throwing themselves around. That's pretty much how the fight happened. There was a tiny bit of, I think, testing each other's arm length. Then Spivak got hold of Tybura, took him to the floor. For a moment, it looked like he was going to be on top. Then Tybura turned it over. He ended up on top. And then it looked like he was trying to maybe get a few bit of ground and pounding, or I'm not really sure what he was doing. And then the next thing, I heard the commentators saying like, "Oh, is he going for an armbar?" And they were like, "No, no, no. Big guys don't do armbars and all that kind of stuff." And then I think it was like 10 seconds later, all of a sudden Tybura's tapping, and yeah, armbar from out of nowhere kind of thing by Spivak. And that's the description of the fight. I'm not really sure what it taught us, if anything at all. Tybura's 37, not the end of the world for a heavyweight, but I don't really see there's that much future for him anywhere significantly inside the top 10. And Spivak, we've already seen him against kind of what the best the division has to offer, and he hasn't been able to beat any of them. So I'm not really sure how much it's going to do for his career in the UFC. And with that, I'll throw it open to whichever one of you wants to say something about this.
I'm going to be particularly aggressive about the grappling on this one, just because the first body lock, like hip down, like shimmy toss that Spivak did seemed absolutely lazy. Looked like two polar bears literally kind of pulling and pushing up against each other in the cage and then just flopping because they didn't know how to balance properly. It was quite unsettling to see how easy and kind of carefree that takedown was. And then, because I, compared it to the men's wrestling that I was watching over the weekend, but neither here nor there. Uh, this was not a real main event. Let's just be honest about that. This was just all right. Who's available? Fuck it. Let's just make them. They're the highest ranked. Okay, fine, that works. Fuck it. Spivak did the damn thing. I mean, we were pretty split on it. I think as a group overall watching this, I think there's either Spivak's got enough juice to kind of get the win, or Tybura is just going to lay on him, and he almost did. He almost did that. He literally got taken down, and then like a fucking seal just rolled over on him. Just managed to almost get top position on it, and then Spivak pulled the fucking Hail Mary, fucking not even a Hail Mary. He just like, all right, I think I can do this, and just fucking did it. Like he just pulled the armbar out of his ass and just like, all right, it's over. All right.
Well, you were the only one of the three of us, Austin, who picked Spivak.
That's again, that was not even by choice. It was more like I just want to be different. And it worked out in my favor, thank God.
Yeah, well, you're still in the Survivors League and I'm not, so.
Oh yeah.
JRB shall reign continues.
Hopefully.
Yeah. What a sad state we are in right now with this heavyweight division. Like this is just fucking pathetic. Like I used to actually kind of like Spivak, leading up to his last fight with Gone anyway. That was a real fucking stinker, pooper of a fight. This was a rematch. Was it a rematch we needed? I don't know. Not necessarily, but we got it anyway. You know, heavyweights are gonna heavyweight at this point in the UFC. You can't expect too much from them. It's a very, very.
If you don't really want to say anything about it, what did you think about Denise versus Carl Williams? That was at heavyweight as well.
Yeah, that's another one that I could mention on that. But what I will say about the main event though was just that it's a very top heavy division. From 5 up, you got some real all-star talent in there, and then from 5 down, especially when you start getting into the 10 beyond rank, it's not the deepest talent pool. So while I do understand, heavyweights kind of take precedence in the UFC, and they always have, and these were 2 ranked guys, it didn't have any bells and whistles. There wasn't much stakes. There wasn't much storyline. Good win for Spivak. I did learn yesterday for the first time that he is a married man. He has a child on the way, and his wife is a multiple-time national sambo champion. So, yeah, combat sporting.
You might have a kid that's actually good at martial arts then.
Yeah. A win's a win. Tybura getting up there in age, heavyweight. We know they can go a little longer, but he's a bit long in the tooth, and these aren't the 2 most skillful heavyweights, to say the least. So yeah, but then to also before I shut my mouth here, to touch on that Janese fight against old Carl there, I had picked Janese coming in because there's a good amount of buzz surrounding him. I can't remember the kickboxing organization he came from, but it was one of the more premier kickboxing orgs out there, and you could see that in the fight last night. Just all around better stand up, way more comfortable on the feet. I like the way that he bounces on his toes every once in a while, just kind of like resets, and it was almost like he was reminding himself, like, all right, yeah, reset, move my feet, move my head. I was pretty impressed by Janese last night.
Yeah, I also picked him, so I've just got to give a quick thank you to MMA Guru because he tipped me onto that one. And a ha-ha to Austin because he didn't pick that one in this case.
I picked Carl based off of his wrestling ability, and that's what he did in his last fight. I figured a guy who was a kickboxer would get taken down because he's not good at grappling. I did not see that in the fight, so excuse me.
Well, you were correct. He just took 3 rounds, and of course the fight was only 3 rounds.
He should have done it sooner.
Yeah.
Big shout out to the takedown defense of Janice. He really stuffed some good shots from Williams.
Yeah, and as I said, I mentioned at the start, leg kicks. By the end of round 1 or start of round 2, Denise was at 21 out of 21 leg kicks.
Yeah.
That was just obviously intent was slow Williams down, and it did quite a lot for quite a while.
Yep. Yeah, the commentary was actually saying, like, it doesn't seem like it's slowing him down. I'm like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? Like, he took the wheels out of him so quick.
Yeah.
And not to mention, he was getting clipped, and he'd get afraid every time they'd exchange. Like, you could see the visible look of fear every time he would get clipped. Or not clipped, but, like, after he would realize, oh, I just got hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, she said there was no debating who had the better striking. Just needs to work on his wrestling some more.
Mhm.
Do you want to jump onto the second fight?
Yeah, sure.
Damon Jackson versus Chepe Mariscal. Unanimous decision, which was a crazy one. The score from the judges was I was like, oh my god, did that really just happen? I know we were discussing it in the Discord, and Dave was, I think a couple of people said, are those 10-8 rounds? And it was like, maybe, but they're not necessarily that generous with 10-8s this very often. And when the judges read the scorecards out, 2 judges scored it 30-25, and the other one scored it 30-26. I have never seen that in a striking battle before. I've seen it in grappling competitions, but never in a that kind of thing. Far more entertaining fight than the main event, despite it being a decision. It was entertaining at least.
Yeah.
Both hurling some damage at each other. No quitting Damon Jackson. Can't fault his heart. Just his abilities, really. I'm not sure how old he is, but he's got to be getting towards the end of his career. Mariscal looked tough and ready to be out there. And go on, Lazy, take it away, since you said very little about Spivak.
Oh, you can't fault his heart, but you can fault his hairline. Fuck that Turkish hairline bullshit. God. Shit pisses me off. Damon Jackson, you are forever on my shit list. Not just for the hairline, not just for your Ford Mustang racing stripe tattoo, which is one of the gayest things I've ever seen.
Oh, is that what that is?
I don't know what the fuck it is, but it reminds me of a fucking car. Like, he looks like a Matchbox car. Anyhow, I thought that I was going to be a wise guy in this fight, and I thought that I got a little bit of a jump on everybody else. And watching the weigh-ins, Chepe Mariscal looked fucking horrendous on the scale. He looked horrible. He might have been one of the top 5 worst looking people I've ever seen take the scale. Just a walking zombie, literally like shuffling his feet, could barely pick up his legs, getting to the scale, eyes sunk in his head. He looked horrible. And then he misses by, I believe, 3.5 pounds. That's with the 1 pound weight allowance for a non-title fight. So technically, 4.5 pounds over the actual weight limit. And then also, as I've said before, I've probably mentioned on this show, during the weigh-ins, they tend to leave the microphones open for whatever the weigh-in stream is. So if you listen close enough and you got your volume up high enough, you can pick up some chatter and some scuttlebutt going around in the Apex or wherever they're holding the weigh-in. And the talk was, when Chepe left the scale, he went immediately to the doctor to go under doctor's supervision. So yeah, I thought I was getting the jump here by picking Damon Jackson in the predictions for these fights, and I was actually, I believe, the only person on the Discord that did so. Boy, did that fucking backfire. The bad weight cut didn't seem to affect Chepe at all. I thought at least his cardio was going to wear if they went all 3 rounds and went the distance. Was not the case. He beat the shit out of Damon Jackson from pillar to post. Chepe still undefeated in the UFC, despite the 17-6 record. in the big show, he has done everything he's needed to do, and he has made easy work of all of his opponents. So shout out to Chepe, Damon Jackson. Fuck you. You're a piece of shit, and you and your Turkish hairline.
I did just check. You were the only person on the Discord who picked Jackson. So
yeah, go figure.
What are the one-sided fights this evening? Oh shit. All right. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I just kind of figured Damon would give him a tough fight. But if we're gonna be looking at whether or not Chepe is that guy for this division, because he started as a late replacement at 155, right? Inside the UFC. And he subsequently, yeah, I did. Okay, good. Thank you. Now he's proven himself because he took out a prospect in his last fight, right? A French prospect, a guy who everybody kind of picked as a future possible champion or title contender. Oh, and
short yay.
Thank you. I don't know why I'm terrible with names today, but realistically, Chepe's that dude. He's the dude who was like supposed to be just kind of filler, fun fighter who may or may not be a guy who makes a run or whatnot, and just is a guy who could be entertaining for other fighters. He has proven to be more than just that. Now, this weight miss is, I think, the first he's ever done this. So I'm not going to take anything away as say like, oh yeah, he screwed up. Like sometimes you just get bad weight cuts. I've seen it happen before, and sometimes it's just a matter of like, hey, like Danny Barlow, where they see something, you miss the weight, and they're like, you're not gonna cut any more weight. You're done. And pretty much, I'm hoping that's the case. I don't know that for a fact. Like Lazy was saying, sometimes it's usually the doctor's decision to cut your weight cut short before you can even actually finish it. So it's like, it just depends on what the circumstances were. I'm not going to hold it against him because this is his first defense inside the UFC. I don't know of anything outside of the UFC, but he's that dude. He was tossing Damon Jackson around like he was a fucking rag doll. And he looked kind of chippy. I don't know. Maybe that should be his new nickname, Chepe Mariscal. He's extra violent in there. Goddamn, but he's that dude. I would be reminding us to not get super excited just yet because this is Damon Jackson. He has been known to get finished early, but he's one of those guys who could take a ton of damage. It's an interesting kind of career he's had. He could beat a prospect on any given night, give a pretty good performance against a tough competitor, but he had nothing for Chepe.
I just remember what I was going to say. I was going to say that Chepe almost got the finish at the end of the fight, if I remember rightly. And I'm so glad he didn't, because we would have never seen those judges' cards. So
I think that was worse. I think that was worse for David. He's like, oh my god, I didn't win at all. Not even on one scorecard, not even for a round.
Not even close.
No. But nah, yeah, I mean, do the thing that you should do with guys like Chepe, which is just slow cook him. Give him another veteran, another regional talent, a journeyman, someone who's not even close to the title contention area. Just give him a couple more fights like this. Ideally, we see him build up his resume against tough names, and pretty soon we'll be seeing him in the top 10.
Okay. So then, I don't think we don't want to particularly cover any. Sorry, should I say I don't think we want to cover any particular fight. But what was your favorite fight of the night, or one that you just want to talk about? And who wants to go first? Austin, take it away.
You know what's funny? I was excited for Danny Barlow. Maybe that's just more smoke and mirrors considering how the fight played out, but the guy with the rat tail, Danny Barlow, just kind of proved again that you just need more seasoning before you enter the UFC, because he's got great one strike counters, straight lefts, good hooks, nice, distance and timing. But he just has an issue with just keeping not so much a pace, but just realizing that his opponent can sometimes hit him. and it's interesting to see like this opponent was an older Kazakhstani, Metra Turkinov. Fuck, I'm not gonna say it. His opponent gave him a little bit of a push, and I thought it was a competitive fight. This is the kind of fight I would like to see guys like this have. This one was just a little bit closer than I would have liked to have seen it. So, Barlow has the ability to keep doing what he's doing. I want to see him actually tested like this, maybe one or two more times. But this is one of those fights. I think if Barlow misses, one thing or gets taken down, he loses the fight. I think that's not out of the question here, but that's one of the guys I was interested to see, and I'm happy he got a win. Although I do want to see him work on some stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll jump in here. I too was pretty excited to see left hand to God Danny Barlow, Mr. Memphis. And I'll cut him a little bit of slack because he did break his hand or his arm, might have been his arm, in the very first round of his last fight, his debut fight. And
Yes.
I think that there might have been like a little bit of hesitancy or maybe he was a little bit unsure and really engaging because this was his first fight back. And I think he said as much in the post-fight interview. But good showing from him all in all. Varetnikov is a Kazakhstani, as you mentioned, Austin, and he's a pretty tough guy, tough out, and he wasn't going away lightly in there. So good, hard-fought, fight there, despite some lulls in the action and maybe a little bit of inactivity on old DB's part. But yeah, my shout for the night is actually going to go to the ladies. I'm going to go with old Caro Hosa, and one of my favorite names to say, Penny Kanzad. Hosa, for those that don't remember, is coming off of a very, very tough fight against Irene Aldana in her last outing, where she kicked the ever-loving shit out of Aldana's legs, and she did it again against Penny last night. Just fucking basically bullied her around the cage. Cut her up at one point, and Penny was just bleeding all over the place for the whole remainder of the fight. Fun scrap, nothing too crazy or exciting really happened, but just nice to see a couple of ladies get in there and really blood and guts go after it and not wall and stall as they tend to do. So, yeah.
Fight of the night.
Yeah, because I enjoyed that fight as well. It was, again, as I said at the start, this was the night for leg kicks. There were so many fighters who were beating the crap out of their opponent's legs, and this was definitely one of them. Rosa had, I think, at the end of the first round, 21 leg kicks, and then she kept on it for the second round, and they must have been well over 40 by the end of that round. I'm not sure what the fight total was at the end. The third round kind of spoilt it because it went down to the ground mainly. And then we had Rosa on top for a little while. Then they got up a little bit. Then Kianzad was just held up against the cage. And then Rosa landed a couple of really nice elbows on the break. Just, pull back slightly, slap her with an elbow. Well, not slap, try and drive her elbow through her skull. And then duck back in, push her back against the cage and rinse and repeat, that kind of thing. So, yeah, that was a fun fight. I enjoyed watching that one. And seeing as that one's already been covered, I will mention the Yana Santos versus Chelsea Chandler. This was one that did me down. I did not pick Santos for some idiotic reason. I decided to go for Chelsea Chandler. I will blame the guru for this one because I think that's one of his picks. I picked again. Chandler came in looking very overweight, which wasn't surprising because she missed weight by 5 pounds. Wasn't the most exciting fight, but the thing I liked about it, you saw Santos fighting using a hell of a lot of very good striking from what I could see. Not that I'm by any means an expert. And she's fighting out of Tampa Bay, Florida, Coconut Creek. So she's at American Top Team, which of course means that's where Dakota Dijeva trains as well. So I'm wondering how much these two have been training together, because Santos was making heavy use of the Thai plum, driving those knees home when she got the chance. And I don't know if this is how Yana fought beforehand because I don't remember her, to be blunt. But I'm seriously wondering if that's the influence of Dakota being at that gym. I don't know if
No,
I don't know if either of you have got to say anything on that.
yeah, I was gonna say you might be right actually because she's not traditionally a very Muay Thai based fighter. She's more of a grappler, and it makes added sense because she is married to Tiago Santos, who now fights in the PFL. So she's got that added connection.
Okay. I'm not alone on that thought then. Like I said, I couldn't
Well,
remember how Santos fought beforehand, and I
yeah,
didn't have time to look it up and check.
formerly known as Yana Kunitskaya.
Ah, that might be why I didn't remember the name in any way. So that does ring a bell. Not that I can think of any fights involving her, but yeah, it's slightly more familiar. And as we've all covered our favourite fights now, I'll let Lazy have the little rant that he wanted to make about the performance of fighters making weight for this card.
No, that's me with a mouthful of food. Sorry about that. What the fuck is going on with these big fat fatties in the UFC, guys? What did we have? Three people at least miss weight yesterday for a terrible low level, probably the worst card of the year at the Apex. I mean, maybe they were taking it as unseriously as we are or were. Sure seemed like it. I don't know if it's a level of disrespect for their opponents. Is this strategic on certain fighters' behalves, or is this just a straight up lack of discipline? But to me, and I'm going to quote Michael Bisping here, as I often do, you got two jobs if you're a fighter: make weight and come into the fight in shape. Uh, it just, I don't know, it just drives me nuts when you got these people that are seemingly fighting for their jobs in the UFC and fighting for their careers, and they are missing weight, oftentimes by astronomical amounts. Now, in the case of somebody like a Chepe Maniscal, who's, like we said, this is his first career weight miss, I'm not going to ride his ass too hard, but I don't know. Just all in all, come the fuck on, guys. Like, put the fucking Twinkies down, put the Cheetos aside, get on the fucking treadmill, break a sweat, make the fucking weight. No more bullshit. That's
I think Chandler was fighting a weight down from what she normally does, though, doesn't she? Or wasn't she?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
but this
And
is
there
like your
was
third fight at this weight class. That's the thing.
All
yeah.
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
Not to get
the
too
inevitable ladies' problems, possibly.
Yes, not to get too explicit, but I was going to say that there was also chatter on the way in stream in the Apex amongst the women in attendance that Chandler was on her menstrual cycle, so she would not be continuing to cut weight any further.
Sorry. Blood was flowing before she got into the octagon. Yeah. Sorry, ladies.
Jesus.
Not that we have any ladies who listen to this. What do we want to score this card? If you want to score it at all, we will, because I'm not like
Three.
lady. Oh,
Three.
wow. Wow. That's
I'm
harsh.
sorry. What do you want me to say? It's three.
Wow, that's a new low. No, not even Lazy has killed the card with the 3. So I can't wait to hear what he's going to say.
Fucking hell, man. I mean, I said it coming into this that this might have been the one card all year that I didn't watch. I fucking watched it anyway because I'm a piece of shit degenerate loser. But this was horrendous, man. Like top to bottom, inside and out. Before the fights began, as the fights occurred, and when they were over. It was just bad all around. Bad, bad, bad. All time low. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna give it a 2. This is a 2.
Oh, man. Wow, a grand total of 5 so far. Go. I'm going to have to. I don't know how low I can go on this one. I kind of enjoyed the prelims, but there were only 3 prelims. Oh, and I did fall asleep before the card even started. So I woke up at 3 o'clock, 2:30 in the morning, I think, watched the last 3 fights, and then went back to bed, and then rewatched the entire card this afternoon. Well, watched these prelims and everything that I'd fallen asleep. I only fell asleep, I will point out, because some bastards made me stay up and watch UFC 1 and UFC 236 on Friday night.
Who, me? Shout
Yeah.
out.
I had to educate some of the younger people on this podcast, and because they'd never seen UFC 1, which is shocking.
What do you mean? Get out of here. Goddamn. Made me choke on my own drink because of that statement.
Yeah. What can I give it? The Aaron's Zalal fight was okay, and I quite enjoyed the Deniz one in its own little way. Kind of watching him see what he was looking like at heavyweight compared to obviously Tom Aspinall. Nowhere near him, but a nice 8-0 fighter. So hopefully he's going to improve a little bit on his grappling takedowns, etc. And then I did enjoy Hoser versus Kianzad, but I didn't really enjoy much on the main card, if anything. Maybe Cheppy, that's a bit. Yeah, I will keep it low as well. I will go 4. So a grand total of 9. We can average out at 3 for all of our scores, which is scary bad. Can't believe you made us watch this, Dana. You fucker. Which is why we shall change the subject and go on to some PFL news instead, because I believe some people wanted to talk about that. Francis Ngannou is making a return to the MMA ring after the death of his child and after all the boxing furore that went on, losing his last fight. But yeah, so PFL news. Francis is back. And who wants to talk about it? Because it was someone else, and I only vaguely know who he. In fact, I don't even know who he's fighting.
The opponent is Renan Fajeda, who is, I believe, the current PFL heavyweight world champion.
Say again, because it sounded like you said Henry Cejudo there for a second.
Renan Fajeda.
All right, okay.
And I believe like I said, he's the heavyweight world champion of PFL. He maybe it's Bellator. I don't know. PFL-ator. He's their heavyweight champion. And this, I believe, is also the debut of the PFL Super Fight pay-per-view division, their first event. So, yeah, this is the grand soiree of the PFL into the pay-per-view genre that Francis Ngannou is the face of, along with Jake Paul, who we will probably never ever see in the PFL Smart Cage.
No.
But yeah, Francis has been announced for his big return to MMA, coming off of one of the most devastating starchings I can recall in fighting memory against Anthony Joshua. The big return of Francis Ngannou. You know, the Predator is back in the building after getting fucking knocked the fuck out by Joshua. I'm excited for it. According to Eric Nixick, he said that Ngannou never stopped training MMA and never lost that fire to compete in MMA. So, I think it's going to be exciting to see, you know, where he's at after the events of that last fight in his, you know, adventure in boxing. And I think he's got a really good chance of winning, actually. Fajeda is kind of known to have a bit of an iffy chin. Francis, if there's anything he can do, he could fucking crack. So he's got a good shot at winning. And then before I move on, I'm not going to talk about it, but we should also probably touch on the return of Chris Cyborg against Larissa Pacheco.
That one. Yes, man, that one has me excited for particularly Pacheco. But Larissa Pacheco is pretty much the replacement to Kayla Harrison as far as being their larger female athlete that can also put, you know, a thumping on a lot of the fighters that they had. They didn't really have. They actually had her compete since she won the last season of the 45 pound tournament that they had, and since then they've only had women's 125. So, which has worked out well for them. That's not an issue that I would take up with. It would just be like if you have someone who's capable, 2 stars in Cyborg and Pacheco. I would have figured that they would have made a 145-pound season for them, to compete in. But I think what they're doing is they're cutting additional costs by just making them both fight once on the pay-per-view card, which is fine. But that means that they're only fighting once a year at this point, and that's not ideal for stars in this day and age, especially in this kind of promotion. But that's neither here nor there. We get to actually see a high-level competition between 2 female athletes that the PFL has under their umbrella, which is great. Cyborg's getting up in age. She's been boxing nobodies, which was whatever it is what it is. She's now actually fighting a contender for pound-for-pound status as far as female athletes are concerned inside of MMA. And Pacheco gets to actually say she faced somebody who was a former UFC champion and a current Bellator champion and take home that scalp, which I think she's going to knock her the fuck out. So it'd be exciting to see.
Yeah.
And in other news, we have renovations at the Apex.
Yes, we do.
And of course, the return of Dana White's Contender Series next week on the 14th of August.
Mm-hmm.
So
I made the joke. I thought we were watching Dana White's Contender Series this past weekend, but apparently that wasn't the case.
Now, Dana White's Contender Series is generally more entertaining than last night.
True. Very true.
Yes.
Is that my cue to get into the renovations at the Apex?
Yeah,
yes.
You guys wanted to talk about it, so take it away, Lazy.
Yeah. So basically, I'll just give the rundown here, and I am quoting more or less directly from John Morgan and producer extraordinaire.
Before you do, get down and give me 10.
10 what?
Oh my god.
Bing rips? I don't know.
That I could probably. But yeah, I'm basically quoting this directly from John Morgan and producer extraordinaire Ken Hathaway, aka Cold Coffee from MMA Junkie. That's where I heard this first, and they are the boots on the ground. They have the connections, within the Apex. They're Las Vegas natives, and they attend all of the various outings and whatnot that they hold there. So if anyone's going to know it, it's these guys. And actually, when I brought this up to other MMA media sources around the sphere, most of them either said they didn't know much about it or tried to refute it. I think that's because they weren't the ones to break the scoop themselves. Nevertheless, here's what's going down. The speculation is that beginning in November of this year, as soon as the Contender Series, or shortly after the Contender Series wraps up for 2024, we are going to be taking approximately an 8 to 9 month break from events at the Apex. And they're going to hold nothing but road events during that time period because the Apex is going to be under renovation and construction. They are building new bathrooms, a box office, and various other amenities to accommodate permanent seating, because this entire time that we have been watching events in the Apex, they have been using temporary seating and bringing in the chairs one by one for each of these events so that they could circumvent zoning restrictions and, I'm assuming, save money. But they finally, put their fucking nuts on the table and decided they're going to upgrade the Apex and upgrade our viewing experience and add some permanent seating to the facility. So yeah, the plus side is we will get a 8 to 9 month break from UFC Apex events. They're probably still going to be Apex level cards, but at least they're going to be in front of a live audience.
Crowd goes wild.
It only took them 5 fucking years.
Yeah, they were just COVID measures. That's all. Like in England, we were just
Yeah. Oh,
we were just flattening the curve for 2 weeks. That's all. 2 years
well,
later.
you remember why they built it? They weren't even going to host like live events in there for the UFC originally. They were just going to use it for the Ultimate Fighter and regional level events.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like, you know, hey, we're giving this to the regional scene around us. You can rent it from us, and we can let you host the facilities that are there, or host from the facility. Like basically pay us to use it, more or less, right? Usually they're paying other people to rent and host events and whatnot, but they were going to be like, all right, this is a quick little cash grab, and then COVID hit, and they basically, oh, we don't have to spend money if we have our own facility. Everything's in house. We have it. We have the things. We have all the things. We have everything, But then they're like, oh, you know what? We don't have to actually put on quality cards. How many fights do we have to have?
I think, in a sense, it was a bit of a lack of foresight on behalf of the UFC that they didn't really anticipate the fact that they were going to continue to hold events in the Apex long after the COVID restrictions were up. And I believe it was Daz who said the other night, I think he put it best, that it's basically the equivalent of buying a house that you think is a fixer-upper and not realizing that it's your forever home. So a few years into owning it, you're like, oh shit, like we really got to do some renovations around here and make this thing a little bit more livable, because we are going to have events at the Apex for the foreseeable future. Like it's not going to end anytime soon.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Great shout out, Daz.
Yeah, we dragged him into chat the other night, so quite entertaining.
Oh, and one last point I will make on this before we move on. I hope that, seeing as it seems like they are adding, more seating and adding this permanent seating to accommodate more fans in the arena for these events, I hope that they also lower the level of the tickets, because I've heard that Apex events are not cheap to attend. Like those are, despite what you may think, those are pricey fucking tickets. So if you're making me watch fights in a warehouse, make those tickets a bit more affordable.
Yeah, I mean those lazy boys are not cheap.
When you're getting such stars as MGK attending, what do you expect for the price of tickets?
Shit.
Any other news you guys want to bring up?
Nah, I think we're good. Yeah.
Not really news, but I could give a quick mention to the dude from boxing last night. I'm forgetting his fucking name off the top of my head. Some event on ESPN Plus. I believe it was for a title belt, 126 pounds, I want to say. Either way, the underdog who was losing the majority of the fight ended up completely fucking starching the champion and winning the title in his hometown with a vicious fucking left hook. Completely laid the dude out. And all the commentators and boxing pundits around the world seem to be all saying the same thing: knockout of the year. So if you like boxing, or if you just want to see a guy get knocked the fuck out, go check out the ESPN boxing event from yesterday, main event.
I saw the KO that you posted on the Discord, and yeah, very, very sweet left hook. I think he just slipped the jab, didn't he, slightly, and then dived inside, clipped him with that left hook, and yeah, good night, Vienna. It was all over. Okay, that's just about enough from us. If you've made it this far, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave us a comment. And we will, of course, be back next week with our roundup of UFC 305 in Perth, Australia. And keep your eyes open, because hopefully we'll be dropping a preview show for that event sometime this week. So until then, we're out of here. Say goodbye, guys.
Peace.
Later. Fucking Apex my ass. Get the fuck out of here.
Enjoy your week, fatties.
They've got plenty to put in anyway with fucked out the show and God knows what else.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
If I can just interject and just say, fuck you, Craig, and get this thing on the road.
Oh, yes. Fuck you, Craig. I just thought that was it. Just
No one will know why we were laughing because they will never hear it because Dave will cut it out.
Not a mouthful of nuts like that one time.
No, that's only Dave.
That was my mouth.
Yeah, it was. When you're ready, Dave. And yeah, probably no one's going to ever hear that because Dave will cut it out. But